3.
Okay, I guess, let's see. Let me make sure it's going live on YouTube. So just it's still working on it. Okay, this is ready.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Essence of. Today, we're going to be talking about history and actually how the world has been improving. I'm Amanda Armagoss.
I'm Melissa Haber.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence. Now, Amanda, I sent you a picture of a book that I have been listening to. And first of all, and now I think I have improved. Now I'm listening at 2.4 speed. I moved from 2 speed to 2.4.
I actually did see that. When you sent me the screenshot, I was thinking, oh my gosh, English is your 4th language, right?
Yeah. No,
and you're
yeah,
listening to it faster than I could even.
Yeah, no kidding.
How can you take in any information?
Well, this is like a 9-hour book. I want to listen to it on the way to Crookston and back. So, and the idea is that you just start somewhere and you go slowly up and you don't even notice. For me, it sounds totally normal, actually.
I've gotten in your car. No, Alyssa, I've gotten in his car one time when the podcast was still playing and it's screaming at you. First of all, he turns the volume up as loud as it can go. And it's like,
You know why? Because it has to mask over his racing loud thoughts in his
so
head.
true.
It says we have to overpower the thoughts and we have to be faster than his thoughts that are already thinking.
But let's talk about the book, actually. The book is called, what's called?
Thoughtfulness.
Factfulness. It is by a Swedish, actually, physician, doctor, who went to Africa to help people, and he helped the United Nations to create a path, a way to improve children's life. And he has written many books. He has been, his name is Hans Gaslin, I believe. And he actually have been giving talks. He recently passed away. But he has been actually talking to Hans Rosling. Hans Rosling is the name. And he have been given talk in the entire world about his experience. What to look for if you truly are trying to help people, what to look for. And he amazingly describes the amount of the improvement we have gotten just in our lifetime. And the way he actually describes that he goes and asks a series of questions. And if you don't mind, one of you should look for those questions, Hans Rosling questions, and we should go through those questions. And he shows that people get it wrong, the answer to those questions, and even intelligent people, academic, very highly educated people. Huh?
Hans, is he? Okay, I got it.
Rosling. And he noticed that actually he started the book with that chimps get those questions more right than human, even intelligent, academic, and well-educated, because chimps would answer it randomly, but human, through our education, through our whatever we are getting, our facts are so old, and we grew up with those facts that are old. And now when we answer it, we get it more wrong than if you would just randomly answer those questions. And if those questions are all about, level of what we think about the humanity and what the things are like. One of the questions is, what do you think, what percentage of girls in the world finish their primary education? Like, what do you think is in the whole world, not in just the Western country? For 20%, 40%, or 60% of the girls finish education?
I hate multiple choice questions because I feel like I can justify in my head why 20% could be right, why 40% could be right, and
But the
I have the questions here. Do you want to go through them? I have 13.
Actually, I think that would be a very good exercise. Go ahead. Let's go.
You know the answers though?
Well, when in the book he was telling, I got all the answers right.
Of course.
But that isn't well. But that is because I have been listening to lots of books. But he goes in the university. He goes to academic. He goes to governments, highly educated people. They get it more wrong. They get it more less than random, actually. Meaning that we are educated in a wrong way. So let's go through the question. And
So
let's go
it's
answer
kind
them.
of like it's kind of the issue is why so many people get it wrong is because they have their own kind of set of ideals or
No,
they're
it's about our education. In the book, he talks about that. Our education system has brought us facts that have been overhauled, but we never go back and re-educate ourselves about. We don't update our knowledge.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. So kind of like when people thought tomatoes were toxic just because of what they were cooking them in. It's not true. It's just what you've been told. So you keep passing that information down.
Possibly.
Okay.
I never
So-
heard that the tomatoes are toxic, but
No, people used to believe that every part of the tomato plant was toxic, but actually every part is edible, even the leaves.
excellent.
Yep, learned that in my foraging class. Okay. So I have 13 questions. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
All right.
We'll start with the one you already asked. In all low-income countries across the world today, how many girls finish primary school?
Low-income countries even. Okay, go ahead. Answer the question.
It's 3 different options, 20, 60, and 40. I'm going to play it safe and guess 40.
See, and it makes me want to say 60 because my first thought is, oh, bias, low income housing, trick question,
Yeah.
go 60. But I'd be with you on that. I would want to.
Not even first world countries. In low-income countries, meaning like
Yeah.
Bangladesh and Afghanistan and
And that
Africa.
makes me wonder because obviously I don't have a lot of information on low income countries. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't been to one, so I don't know a lot about them. And I'm wondering, like, do they have the same primary school as us, or are they learning in different ways?
So that is exactly the point. So 40 and 40, the answer is 60.
Are
Yeah,
you
that's
doing
what to say 60.
Okay,
Yeah, because it says how many finish primary school. Well, for us, we finished school at 18. Do they go to school till 18?
right. I know,
You know,
there's a lot
that's
of
a lot of
factors to
years.
take into account.
Okay,
But what
let's
I'm
go
actually,
through the question because I think those questions are important.
I am going to go through the questions, but I'm also going to answer, if you don't mind, I'm going to actually answer the questions for myself and for Alyssa, because then we can get a score at
good.
the end.
Sounds good.
It says show answers.
Oh, show answers. Okay. Do you know the answers? Because it says you have to log in.
And the answer is 60.
Oh, good job. Way to go.
Trick question. My mind's always drastic one way or the
Okay.
other. You know,
So you want to go to the next
Yep, I'm
question?
going to the next one. Okay.
Like today?
Do you want me to? Come on. Come on. Give me some grace. Give me some, both of you
Two
guys.
and a half times speed. 2.5 times speed.
0.4. Hey, now you're not at 2.5 yet.
I'm only human, you guys. Where does the majority of the world population live? Low income countries, middle income countries, or high income countries? The
I think
majority of the
highest populated
population
countries,
are
is like China, Africa. But China's not technically low income.
yeah, and Africa's got
Africa
like
would-
60 countries in it. Some high, some low.
Most of
Okay.
the countries in Africa are low-income countries.
I'm gonna go with kind of what I know and say low.
See,
Mhm.
like my first thought would say low too. So then I go high.
Yeah. You're like, don't trust myself.
Don't trust myself.
Yeah.
It's the majority. We're not averaging. So
Yeah, but then what is the, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna say low still.
Okay, Alyssa?
I'm gonna just me. Okay, I'm gonna say low too.
Okay, it's a middle-income country.
Okay.
That's what I originally wanted to say, and I didn't trust
I
myself.
didn't because I figured to me that was averaging. Like I was averaging, like, oh, if you take this many and this many and
But
average.
go with your feeling because I gave you something that most of people get it wrong and so on. Even academics, people who do that. Now that question, if you would have said low 20, 25 years ago, you would have been right.
Sure.
This is what this is about. Okay, so just go with your feeling. Don't make a big deal of it. Go.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever not overthink something. in
It's
my
so
life.
true. Okay.
Okay, you cannot assume you're better than that than people who study.
Okay.
People
Yeah,
who study it are wrong.
First response, first gut.
Yeah, give yourself
Okay.
5 seconds. Okay, in the last 20 years, the population of the
The
world,
proportion.
the proportion of the world's population living in extreme poverty has almost doubled, remained more or less the same, almost halved. I'm gonna say
I
half.
to.
Half. We both said.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, there's no way. I was hoping.
That is amazing. This part is truly amazing. This has been do you know what extreme poverty means?
Would
Any
you
of
say less than $1 a day?
Correct. You know what that, you know how life is less than $1 a day.
I could only try to imagine.
A bunch of American young boys went to somewhere in South America and they wrote a book about it, which I listened to in twice the speed, about how it is to live with $1 a day. You know, these are people
Like I
who
did that in college, but I know I didn't.
no, you did not.
I know I
Even
didn't.
the poorest of the poorest in us. No, it's okay. Let's go. They used to be calling them third world country or developing country or developed country. We don't, and Hans, and it's still used, but Hans Rosling has a new method. They call them level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. The absolute poorest of the poor, they live on $1 a day.
Mhm.
Then the next level is $4 a day. Then you quadruple that. The next level, you quadruple it again, $16 a day. And then the highest level, anybody who lives more than $32 a day, it's in the level 4. And more or less, people who are on level 4, more or less, if they are in Africa or America or Sweden, more or less they have the same standard. They have a cell phone, they don't live from day to day. If they are sick, they don't go down in their social status and so on. But living $1 a day, I truly recommend to people, and there is a documentary and there's a book about how it truly is to live on $1 a day. Meaning, these people cannot afford a bicycle. They will have to walk 45 minutes bare feet in a container that has a hole in it to bring water back to their home. Life expectancy, how it is, child mortality, how it is.
Mhm.
These are things that we cannot imagine. The poorest of the poor in the United States are still level 4 or level 3, at least level 3 or 4, because you get food stamp, you get equivalent of the help that puts you in at least level 3 or 4. So we don't really have those level 1 and 2s in the United States. So we cannot even wrap our head around what it is. And this is a magic of the last 25 years, that the number of the people who have been living in absolute poverty is half of what it was 25 years ago, even less than half. It was actually, in the last 30 years, we have 25% of the number that we had in absolute poverty about 25, 30 years ago. You know, the level 1 has been throughout the history our destiny. People used to live in absolute, even in countries like United States or Europe, 100 years ago. What is going on? Why you guys are giggling?
The video skipped and then your face was delayed with your mouth going like 2.4.
You were talking so fast. You said, like, it was like, the level is.
So, even 100 years ago, about 80% of the world population 100 years ago were at level 1 poverty.
80%?
100 years ago, yeah.
Wow.
That is not long ago.
No, that's why I'm saying, just from educated based on what we know, that change,
Yeah.
100
when-
years.
Yeah, The level 1 poverty is that if you're sick, you die.
Sure.
If you don't, if you go half of the days hungry to bed, okay, your children are malnourished
Yeah.
and so on. So we don't understand that. And just listening to that, I mean, I knew the statistic. That's why I wasn't surprised about that. But that has been, if anybody is pessimistic about the life of humanity, that number alone should lift you up. Let's continue with the question. I think these are important questions.
Mhm.
What is the life expectancy of the world today?
I
50 years, 60 years, or 70 years?
if it's not 70, I would be shocked because I swear I've heard 72 somewhere for the average male. So I don't know. I'm going 70.
As actually, go ahead, Amanda, what do you think?
No, I'm going 70 as well.
Yeah, actually 72, exactly. The average life expectancy of the human, other people know, you have probably studied that for your school and so on. So, but 72 is the average life expectancy. What was average life expectancy in United States 100 years ago?
Like 40,
Yeah, I would say maybe
like 35.
enough to give birth and yeah,
And then
I'd say
you're
40, 45.
Average life expectancy 100 years ago, even in developed country, was, I mean, worldwide, it was 35.
35. Wow. That's not even old enough.
Beginning of the last century, I mean, 1900.
Yeah, right.
That is not long ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, even the
When
founding.
did it start all changing? You guys know, when did it start all changing?
When did it start changing?
After World War One.
No.
Hey, that's a good answer.
Thank you.
I thought
Two.
It's a good answer, but it's wrong.
World War
Hey.
Two. After World War Two.
Nope.
Okay.
me.
So my
Well, I
guess
could go the Dust Bowl, the Civil War, Vietnam, Boston Tea Party.
Yeah, it has to be a
What do you want me to-
monumental
It has to
thing.
be some monumental
Yeah.
turn.
Okay, tell me, when did it start? When did we start turning
I
around?
need 3 options.
Yeah,
And the
give us
ABC.
multiple choice.
Okay, 1800, 1500, 1960.
1960.
1960, that's when it ended.
I would have.
So it technically
never guessed.
was after both of the things, I guess.
Yeah. When was
Yes,
World
but
War
long
II?
after, almost 20 years after World War II.
There you
Do you
go.
know what exactly happened there that we start changing that?
We improved communication.
That is definitely part of it. What else?
We exchanged more scientific knowledge and
Research.
research.
Well, it's more practical than that. We have been doing it, constantly. The United Nations developed a system like China. It was a famine. 15 million people starved.
Hmm.
Oh, it says my internet is unstable. Did you hear me?
A little.
So before 1960s, it was a famine in China.
Mhm.
15 million people starved. 15 million people starved.
And
Yeah.
so what was the famine
Nobody heard
caused
about
by?
that. Nobody heard even about that.
What was it caused by?
Oh, that's a good story. Actually, I can go and talk about hours about that.
All right,
Um,
Charlie, write that down.
Do you really want to know? That's actually very interesting.
Actually, Charlie, what he
story.
says, just give us a title of what it's caused by, and then Charlie, can you write that on the whiteboard
Okay,
for
no.
next week?
Okay, let me tell you that. That's because that's a good story. Now, Mao Zedong was a good general, and the good general are horrible peacetime leaders. Now, somebody told Mao Zedong that all these birds are eating our crops. So Mao Zedong, who was a dictator, good general, but not really good leader, civil times leader, made all the country go and literally catch all the birds. It said that the whole country was mobilized. They would bang on their stuff, so the birds couldn't sit anywhere. They died of exhaustion. What happened then, these birds, they weren't only eating the crops, they were eating insects and larvae and worms and everything that would eat the crops. So when the the bird population went down, all the crops were attacked by insects and so on, and then people starved. 15 million people starved. So you see that bringing the nature out of balance. Now this story is much longer and but that was the short version of it. So, but either way, 15 million people died, and nobody really noticed even outside of the. Now that could not happen, and that could not happen as well. Well, still famine and so on, still have happened, but United Nations created a fund that if somebody is famine, they bring food in and they bring help in and so on and so forth. And this has been a global success of us, humanity, getting together and agree that we are not going to tolerate certain things on this planet anymore. So,
Such as killing birds or
no, such as famine, such as absolute poverty, such as that the fact that vaccination and so on, all of those things that the United Nations started. It's the reason things start changing is because United Nations created certain program. And by the way, one of the biggest donors to United Nations is, as a matter of fact, not one of the biggest. The absolute biggest donor to United Nations has been the United States all along. We alone probably have been contributing more to United Nations than maybe Charlie can fact check that, but United States has been contributing to United Nations more than all the other countries together. Charlie, please fact check that. But why don't they love us? That is always has been a question.
When you say that the United States has been giving the most to the United Nations, okay, financially, okay.
Well, that's all about finances. This is all about finance.
Ammunition and.
Well, I was
that
gonna.
way, yeah.
Ammunition?
No,
it's not a warring.
Right, but when they provide, they
come in hard, yeah.
How do I even describe that? You know, when they go into the wars and they start to come up with their different bonds and stuff, it's more than just money when it comes to people wanting to be, because the United States does have, we don't have a lot of money because we're in debt, but we have a lot of money, it seems.
We give a lot of
and
money.
we have a lot of everything else that comes with having the money.
Yeah. I was asking like, is it mostly financial contributions or is it like a lot of academic contributions?
At that level, everything is financial.
Everything.
Okay.
Everything is financial. It's all about the money. How much resources you give to United Nations to do their research on vaccination, their research on infection disease, their research on malaria, or give the vaccines and so on, or give food and so on. It's all about the money at that level. Okay.
Yeah.
So
were you just asking why doesn't everyone like us then?
No, but we are the biggest donor. We are the most generous nation on the face of the earth, have been ever. But still, we are
I have a question. As I would agree that, on the generosity things, but one thing I've noticed about America is they don't give quietly. I think there's a difference between being generous and generosity. We love to give money and then make it known. Hey, we just gave all this money to help this person, or we're sending money here to go help these people versus sending money just to help them. Okay,
well, no, let me tell you, we have been given quietly.
Exactly.
United States have been given quietly since Second World War, even before that. We have been extremely generous to other countries, but at times we go and meddle in their affairs in a very negative way. And that is another thing. Please put it on our agenda to discuss a book. It's about the open arteries of Latin America. Put it on the thing. We are going to come back and talk about that. The open arteries of Latin America. This is a book that as well I recommend. And then when you read that book, you understand why, even with our all generosity, that we are perceived as evil But that's a different conversation. But let's come back to that. In 1960s, things start really changing because those things that the United Nations put in place start coming to fruition.
Okay.
Okay. Should we continue with the questions?
Yeah.
Number 5 is there are 2 billion children in the world today, age 0 to 15 years old. How many children will there be in the year 2100?
And it's mostly about the population growth. So at the
Right.
end of the century, there will be more children or less children or same children as now?
More.
I
Well,
I'm
guess
gonna
population
stick.
birth rates
shoot.
are declining.
I know. I hear birth rates are declining too.
I'm gonna go
I'm gonna
3.
go 2.
So the
This is
options,
sick.
the options are
Shoot, it might
4
be-
billion, 3 billion, and 2 billion. I'm gonna go 3.
I'm just gonna be different and go 2. I'm gonna go 2 billion.
So you're saying it's more children, and Alyssa, you're saying the same number of
At
children.
this point, I'm saying the same. Yeah.
And that's true. That is going to be projection. You see, one of the problem has been the number of the children. Our population will stabilize at 12 billion, and it won't. And then possibly it will go even down. And then, but toward the end of this century, the fear has been always that it will be so many people.
Mhm.
The planet cannot sustain it, and so on and so forth. And if you look at that projection, that how has it been since in 1800 there were 1 billion people on the planet.
Wow.
It took literally 40,000 years in the history of humanity to reach 1 billion. Then within 40 years we doubled.
Mhm.
Within another 50 years, we doubled again. Within another 50 years, we doubled again. And if you look at that, this is not sustainable. But one of the reasons we have so many children, and proven again and again and again, is the poverty. The absolute poverty is a ground for this population growth. Because if you know half of your children are going to die, you will have more children.
Yeah.
And it's proven once a society get at the level, like remember the level 1, 2, 3, when they reach level 3 and 4, the number of the births goes down in every society, proven again and again. So if you don't want that many people on the planet, fight absolute poverty. Because less people in poverty, meaning more women education, more education about your family planning and so on, and that they go ahead. Educated women, they don't want to just be birthing machines. They want to do more with their lives. Okay, so if people were concerned about the
machine.
They don't get the
but
joke.
this is positive. This is positive that the projections are that like literally the statistic that I have is few years old, but for about 4.5 children in the world died before the first day of school. 4.5 million. It's horrible, right?
So sad.
Sad. But 10 years ago, it was 15 million. 10 years ago.
Million or
10 years ago, it was 15 million. Now it is 4.5 million.
that's a big improvement. The UN predicts by the year 2100, the world population will have increased by another 4 billion people. What is the main
12 billion.
reason?
Say it one more time.
The UN predicts by the year 2100, the world population will have increased by another 4 billion people. What is the main reason? Will there
Is that
be?
the question? Okay, go ahead.
Do you want me to repeat the question again?
No, I got the question. Options?
The options are there will be more children age 15 below, there will be more adults 15 to 74, or there will be more very old people 75 and older. And that's what I'm going with, is that there's going to be more old people
Yeah,
75 and older.
That's initially my first thought. I'm always going to start thinking with medicine, people are going to live
Yeah.
older, and that's going to be, they talk about that already. So,
And I think China's already really worried about that right now, their
read
aging
about it.
population.
I'm worried about it now,
Yeah. Hey,
but
patience
we'll
on
worry
the
about that
book.
later.
yeah. So
Yeah,
what's the
so we're
answer?
both thinking old people.
Okay, well, the answer is less children will die and they come to adulthood. The answer is there will be more adults,
Adults.
Mm.
Okay.
which
Which
is
makes
good for the planet. You see,
Yeah.
most of the time, children and older people really don't contribute to
As much.
economic growth and so on.
Yeah.
Adult,
Well, Dr. Aya was
Mhm.
talking to me about the new movement that's coming with our generation of trying to save and retire by age 50.
Mhm.
That's kind of the goal, is retirement age. She thinks by the time I'm retiring will be 50.
that is
And so-
bullshit.
No,
I
you
don't buy that.
no,
Be careful.
Don't worry about-
It's a plan that
it's
they're
not
starting.
it's not a government thing.
Yeah,
It's a
correct.
personal thing.
It's a personal movement
It's
that
not that the
that's being
government's
talked
gonna
about.
let you retire and give you your pension earlier. It's that people are not interested in working for other people and they're more interested in saving their money and living their own lives. So by the age 50, you're not in the mood to go to work for someone else every day. You want to do what you want to do. So people now are living with their parents longer. They're saving more money. They're buying less extravagant things to save their money so they can retire early.
Mhm.
And they're doing different types of investments. That's why you have a hard time employing people too, because people are doing their own side gigs so they can save more money.
Yeah, that's she worded that a lot better than what I had, because I hadn't even heard of it. I mean, I didn't even think about retiring at 50, but that's
It's-
the
So
reality.
let's put it this way. Economically, it has been, hello, do you hear me?
Yep.
I think we blocked. Now, economically, the age of retirement going to have to move up, not down. The economy is already going to break
Mhm.
if you don't increase the age of retirement, because people, when we came back with Medicare, literally the statistic was you retire and 3 years later you die. That was never the plan. You retire and you live another 30 years.
Right.
This is economically not sustainable.
Well, we're not
So-
talking about Medicare and stuff. These people will be self-funded. They're not going to be getting any social security. They're not going to be doing that. They're going to be living on their own money that they saved. So then when it
And
is time,
investing,
then they will
yeah.
be taking that. But you're right, it's not sustainable because they're not going to be putting into social security
Correct.
for the other people. So
That's what, yeah. So that's what I said. Even when I look at this, there'll be more work, more adults at that age. And he goes, oh, more working adults. And I go, we got to be a little more lenient on this working, where I'm not so sure in 30, 40 years when I'm in that age group, how many people of my age are going to be working? And that's just a reality we have to start thinking about.
Mhm. Well, I would say good luck with that utopia. Okay. If this is the, at any point, if you are not contributing, somebody else has to contribute for you.
Mhm.
yeah,
And our society is not ready yet to that you work, you are done with your career at 30, you work 20 years, and before and after, other people have to work to make your life possible.
but we
That
can
is
just
just-
look at it historically at the boomer generation that really, if we're being realistic, the majority of people don't care about like having to contribute for someone else. They're more like, I'm doing this for me. So
Yeah. Self-sustaining.
Yeah.
Is definitely,
it's a tough balance, but people aren't really interested in other people a lot of times.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask you a question, Amanda. Could your chicken make your lifestyle, carry your lifestyle?
No,
I think you should be a stay-at-home chicken mom.
So,
I'm not
still-
talking about myself though.
no, but I'm tired. I hear that a lot about this way that people think they're going to go have a farm and then live in peace, or go to Brazil or Taiwan or
I tell
Thailand.
No, okay. This is actually something I say in my chicken group weekly. If you are selling chicken eggs for money, you're going to be very disappointed. You can't compete with Walmart. You really can't even compete with your local farm store.
Yeah. So, but you see, but we're getting somewhere. It will be more adult toward the end of the century, and it will be that doom scenarios that they were saying that it will be lots of old people or lots of young people. Statistically, is not the case. So be optimistic. Should
Oh,
we
I
move on?
Yes, we should. How did the deaths per year from natural disasters change over the last 100 years? more than doubled, remained about the same, or decreased less than half. And that's what I'm going with, is that natural death disasters have decreased more than half.
Okay, let's number
I don't
one.
know about that.
Okay, let number one. Is there more natural disaster or less natural
I
disaster?
think there's more
100 years to
natural.
now.
I think that there's more natural disasters now, but I think now we're more equipped technologically.
I'd agree that we're more equipped. Yeah, when it comes from natural, I don't know. I don't know if I can say that it's decreased just in my head, just because natural disasters are natural and
Yeah.
that's exactly what happens. You can't control that.
Right.
But you're right. Yeah, the technology or the saving. I mean, I can't say that it's doubled, but I can't say that it's half.
So you want to
I'm
say
gonna
same.
say with the same, just because I can't justify one or the other. And you say
well,
half?
Yeah. Well, do you think natural disasters, not death related, like just natural disasters, have increased?
I bet they've
decreased, stayed the
decreased.
same? You
The
think
more we
increased?
mess with nature, the more
Yeah.
I feel like,
That's what I'm thinking. And with my airplane experiences in the last couple
yeah, you
months,
said that, yeah.
I'm
No.
really thinking.
I just don't understand how
you think-
big
hey,
expect the same, or grounds to say the
Yeah.
same, earthquakes are rising to,
Temperature,
you
yeah.
know, we don't need to go into that. Yeah, I do think the more you mess with nature, the more natural disasters that will probably come. I'm
Mhm.
saying the same either way,
Yeah, I'm saying.
half still.
But-
I think that I think that we have more technology to save people.
I agree with that.
After earthquakes. like,
Okay,
to
tell us
find-
the answer.
And our houses are better, our roads are better. So go ahead.
But you don't let me tell you the answer. Well,
Yes.
number one, that landing in Houston.
Doubled?
No, listen to me now. That landing in Houston, where you were so scared, Amanda, was not a natural disaster. It was just a turbulence, you know?
No, yeah, that's true. It was turbulence caused by climate change. And it wasn't just landing in Houston, it was landing in Minneapolis
And South
too.
Carolina
And
and Georgia.
yeah.
You don't hear about,
That is the thing. The natural disaster had same rate that it was 100 years ago, but today we hear more about it because of the way the information is so much
Right,
more
yeah.
free. So somebody who would listen to you would think that landing in Houston was a natural disaster.
I told
Yeah.
everyone it was.
on TikTok,
And everyone who sat next to me in my next 6 plane rides, I was like, you guys, the air's getting bad.
that is
And,
true though.
oh God, I was laughing the entire time, and she was like, mortified.
No.
Just
I was embarrassed
She was embarrassed about the guy sitting next to her.
why?
because he was laughing at
Because
me.
he was
Oh,
laughing
but
at her.
I'm talking about me.
Yeah, the girl
Join
girl sitting
them.
next to me was
Right.
cool.
I thought it was cool.
Okay,
It
can
was
you
like a
answer the
roller coaster.
question?
Free roller coaster. So,
Enough about
question:
me.
the number of the natural disaster in the last 100 years is actually less than 1/3, closer to 1/4 of what it. No, the number of the deaths
Okay.
from the natural disaster is less than 1/3, closer to 1/4 of what it used to be.
Is that
And
because
again, because if there's a natural disaster, they have this high energy package. We
Mm-hmm.
go and just give it to them. Most of the time, when people die of a natural disaster, is because they don't have access to water and food.
Right.
and now we can predict
Yeah.
natural disasters, so we can tell people to evacuate the area.
That
and
has
stuff
got a
like that.
huge, huge
even
impact.
the foundational changes of houses built in, California
Mhm.
versus, in South Dakota, just for
Right.
earthquake, they have all those special cylinders. I watched a documentary on it, in case I ever move.
Yeah, Callie.
Yeah.
Well, and also now like the 3D printed houses are technically earthquake
Aren't they
safe.
shock
Yeah.
absorption or
Yes,
something?
they're earthquake
Yeah.
safe, flood safe, fire, everything. Okay. How many of the world's 1-year-old children today have been vaccinated against some disease? 20%, 50%, 80, and I'm gonna go with 80.
I want to say 80. I'm gonna go with 80. Yeah, 50% is too low for the second option.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And it is the answer.
Yeah.
And that is all because of effort of the United Nations.
1960s.
Yep.
Have you now? I know lots of people. Now, the book is about factfulness, meaning looking at the fact. And I know lots of people today, they say, oh, chemicals and vaccines and so on, do this and that and so on. And there's a good argument in the book. Let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say, Amanda, you're against chemicals. And
I am.
Sounds about right.
but listen to me now. No, everything is chemical. Everything is chemical. There is nothing that's not chemical.
Yeah, but I'm against certain stuff. Yeah. We
Yeah.
can
But let's say you're against certain chemicals. There's two ways to be factful about it. That is in the book. I recommend everybody to read the book. Like, if you say chemicals are dangerous, and you're generalizing that because some chemicals are dangerous, or all chemicals dangerous, let's say, is the other way would apply as well, that if I show you good chemicals, then does that apply as well, that because there are some good chemicals, are all chemicals good? The way some people say there are bad chemicals, for that reason, all chemicals are bad. Or this is number one, to think about it, to become factful. Number two is there any evidence that I can bring to you that would change your mind? If the answer to that is no, there's no evidence, nothing you can say or bring to my attention that would change my mind, then we are not in the realm of rationality.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, things with like vaccine and so on. Like, I'm not going to vaccinate my children against measles and so on. Okay, so that's my choice. I don't want to vaccinate my kids. Now, the question is, have you seen a child who dies of measles? Have you seen something like that?
I haven't.
No,
Okay.
I haven't either.
But people who are not vaccinated still die
Right.
of measles. Okay, so then you have to go and see. Okay, you think that is not good. What is the alternative? What is the consequence of the alternative? And open your eyes about alternatives. Doesn't mean that you have to accept one or another, but you have to be perceptive to alternatives. What is the alternative, and what's the consequence of the alternative? Or do you want to just shut yourself down again and shutter your mind and not even discuss what the alternatives are? Then again, you're moving outside of the realm of factfulness. Okay, so let's continue. This is a good talk.
Worldwide, 30-year-old men have spent 10 years in school on average. How many years have women of the same age spent in school? 9 years, 6 years, or 3? And I guess I just have to go with 9.
I would.
But this
we
is part of that, is that as well, that we think in the West we are equality, woman, man, and the rest of the world maybe not as good as we
Not.
are. So
That's still my answer.
Yeah, I seen it. My first thought would have been 9 as well, but after what he's talking about, I can't change it now. But
You can change.
well, what? Now I moved on to 6.
6 just seems like a little bit low to me.
It does seem low, but he's not wrong. When
Yeah.
we think, United States, men and women, even 30 years ago, they had the equality of going to school. So yeah. But
like Afghanistan, like in Muslim country, Africa, and so on.
Well,
they-
I don't want to like what you were just saying. I don't want to put everyone in a box, because
Yeah,
I've been to a
stereotype.
Muslim country and they were very advanced, and all the girls there had been to school and actually spoke English. So I don't want to generalize, and I'm still sticking with 9.
Okay, 9, 6, correct?
Yep.
The answer is 9.
Okay,
You are such a brat.
I can't. You're gonna watch this podcast back, and you're gonna listen to what we just said the last minute and a half, and then you're gonna realize why we said that we are not happy with you. All right, next question.
No, but that is exactly what, see, we are talking about that. That is why we are talking about that. Most of the first world country, we think the Muslim countries, the girls are so disadvantaged. We think in Africa, they just sell the woman and so on. And all of that is not true. All of that is not fact. That is us having prejudice against Muslims and so on. Did you know that in Iran, 60% of the academic students in the universities are women? 60%.
I remember hearing something
know
like
that?
that.
Yeah, when we had that guest.
Or did you know that
Yeah.
the child childbirth rate within 15 years went from 15% to about 2.5% in Iran. Women took responsibility. They controlled that. The biggest condom factory was built in Iran, and the women took ownership of their family planning in a Muslim country that you would think they have no rights whatsoever.
At what age or what year did you say this happened, that they were
In
able to take
19
ownership?
1990s.
Okay.
Well, and that's kind of sad too, because that's when religious biases kind of take play, because we like to put people in certain religions into different boxes just because we don't understand them, and we haven't really taken the time to try and understand or like see maybe what we have in common. And that's why people are thinking like, oh, Muslim women are repressed, this and that. Maybe you should talk to one and see.
That's where we have talked in our last, when Dr. Rossi brought it up again, I didn't want to go into it when, he goes, you have to be able to want to be able to think of the alternative, or be able to, know that there could be another option. That is amazingly so hard to try and get people to just kind of comprehend that there is another possibility. I know I struggle with it a lot because we're
Something we
stubborn
struggled
when
with today.
we have, what we want and the compromise, but that's the same thing that it
takes a lot to want to compromise.
It takes a lot to want to compromise.
So the last multiple choice question I have is, how many people in the world have some access to electricity? And I have 20%, 50%, or 80%. Of course,
I gotta go 80.
Yeah, I'm going to 82.
If it's not 80 and it's 50, I need to do some research then.
Some access to electricity, because when I think of that, I think I was just at Three River Energy in Maple Grove on Sunday. And when I was driving through the parking lot, I could see, I think, 3 or 4 different types of energy there. They have water energy, air energy, and solar. So
that's a good point.
There's so many
instantly just thought of like wall outlets.
Yeah.
But then when I see access to electricity, well, okay, if I need to charge my phone desperately, I could go to Walmart and find an outlet, which I know, there's not Walmarts everywhere, but I'm thinking access, meaning they could go to a school and there'd be lights there. So to me, it has to be.
I'm going to go 80.
It's about your home. It's not about work. It's about what percentage.
Some access at all.
It just says some access to electricity. Well, I'm still going 80. I'm still going 80.
What do you think that number was in the United States just after World War? What do you think that number was?
The first World War?
The Second World War.
Second? Oh, I'm still going to go 70?
70?
No, wait, what year was that?
1940s.
1945. What percentage
they
of
had
Americans?
TVs at that, or their radios and stuff.
Can you ask Charlie to look that up?
I can just look it up now, so I don't have to wait for turn.
ChatGPT.
What percent of the world or the US?
US. I'm talking about the strongest, richest country of the world. What percentage of US had access to electricity in 1945?
85%.
That's good.
What am I missing?
Still going 80.
Yeah. Okay. And that's a number actually.
That's the number.
Okay.
What do you know what that means though?
So basically the whole world is still averaging below what we were in 1940.
No,
Is that what you're trying to say?
The whole world is as strong as we were in 1940s and 50s.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what you said. That's what I said.
I think you might have even said it in the exact same
you did
wording.
Okay, let me tell it to you in a different way.
Okay.
People in Djibouti, one of the poorest countries on the world, have the same standards that the Swedish people had in 1970s. Do you know what that means?
They're improving.
They're improving so much faster. It took us and it took Sweden 100 years to get from where they were to there. The rest of the world is overcoming that gap within a decade or two.
Which they honestly should. If you've ever heard the saying, Amanda walked so Alyssa could run. I mean, you've probably never heard that
Have you
saying.
heard that
Have you
saying?
heard that saying? Someone walked so someone could run. I think he's frozen.
paused. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll just explain. Basically, that saying is, the United States, for example, here, the United States went through all of this slow processing so that Sweden or whatever could get
Yeah.
through it in 12 years versus 120 years. So America ran, so Sweden could, or walked, so Sweden could run.
He's gonna say
It's over his
Sweden's not.
head.
He's
It's
no. He's
fine.
gonna say you're not talking about Sweden. No.
Well, whatever
okay.
country.
She's trying
You
to
just
say.
offended so many Swedes, Alyssa. You just offended so many Swedes.
Let me just put out a formal apology to all my sweets out there. I don't know what I'm talking about, and I haven't for the last hour. So thanks for listening.
But do you know what she means by that? We walked so they could run. Do you know what that means?
I know the gist of it. I know
Yeah,
that you
it
mean
means
that
we paved the way.
right.
So
the
my question
technology.
is,
Yes, we did the technology and so on.
Thank
so
you,
my
did.
Amanda.
question is, I'm going to use Sudan as an example. So let's say the United States 40 years ago is where they are now. Are they where they are now because people like the United States gave them the technology or told them how?
No.
Or is it because
It's
they
not-
just got it?
Okay, let's not pat ourselves too hard.
No,
No.
I'm not patting anything. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you, did they learn the technology because someone else gave them the information or because it just took a little bit longer to learn it and they learned it in a different way?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I know that they are closing the gap so much faster than we ever in the first world countries.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Things that it took us 100, 150 years, they are bridging in 20, 30 years.
Okay.
Which
This
makes
is just a
sense.
fact.
Yeah, I guess that's not so absurd to me to think that others would be able to advance quicker,
Yeah.
but
And it is not necessarily because anything we did, but the whole world is a effort of the whole world, not us necessarily.
Well, I know
Right.
that. I
I
was
would-
just using examples because Sweden, we're not allowed to talk about.
yeah.
So I was just
Sorry,
trying to use a
sorry,
different
sorry,
example for
Sweden.
you.
I'm sorry. I take it back.
Yeah.
Don't sue me.
I have some more long answer questions. They're not multiple choice. Are
Okay.
these some of the ones that were in your book?
They're exercises.
They're exercises
Go
for
ahead.
applying factfulness, embracing complexity. So this is getting the full picture. I don't know if you want to go over any of these.
I like them.
You like those? Can you think of a recent phenomenon or trend in the news that generated a lot of unnecessary fear? Describe the situation and how you can avoid succumbing to panic in fear situations and future
I-
situations.
I have a perfect phenomenon,
Yeah,
aka when they tried to ban TikTok.
I was thinking that.
That's my first thought because for me, I didn't have as much fear going into that situation in general for whatever reason as you might have. I guess I just didn't think
Yeah.
it was possible. So like in that case, it did cause a lot of unnecessary, fear because they put it on a public platform out to the public where, false information was kind of put out, and that causes fear. Anytime you put out anything out there without facts, it
Yeah.
causes fear. And so I just describe the situation and how you can avoid succumbing to it. That's the only thing you can do is fact checking,
Mhm.
knowing what is actually the reality of that situation and not buying into what we're seeing on the news
Yeah.
or hearing. Because if you look during that time, you guys, there were some crazy headlines, some crazy misconceptions being put out there that you can tell that they weren't fact checked. I'll just
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah, like people, I would say people I wasn't as if when you said fear, I wasn't really thinking about the fear I had that I was going to lose my favorite app and my kind of joy in the evening. I think, I think
has
the
no
people
rule.
that had fear were the other people who do want it deleted because
Right.
they were afraid,
Right. They
that,
actually,
they're
had
getting
fear.
listened to and so on, this and that.
either way, it elicited fear on both ends because now it's still here. So those people that didn't have fear
Yeah.
before now got put fear in their head, and now they think we're walking around
But
with it.
you know, it did get
I'm laughing.
it did get banned in either Montana or Wyoming, one of those states. It did actually get banned. I don't know how they're checking that, but
Border control.
let me see your
So-
phone.
So I think a very good example of that, and I think what he's referring to is, let's talk about like how many people do you think in the world die of terrorism in the last 10 years? How many people, what percentage of the humanity has died on terrorism in the last 10 years?
I would say I would give it like 0.01%, or 2 zeros in front of that, 0.001%.
Alyssa?
Well, I was gonna give it at least about, a 0.5%, but or one. I don't
The world
know.
is just so huge.
The word I was gonna say, but what? And then I could say, what's the definition of a terrorist attack? Me, active shooter. That's an act of terrorism.
That is actually a yeah. that
But
is-
so
yeah.
I don't know. Tell me the answer before I overthink myself.
Yeah, I think it's 0.04.
Okay.
But what percentage of all those 0.04 has been in Western countries or industrialized country? What percentage of those 0.04 has been in like Europe or America or United
Well,
States?
a
and
lot
so
of them actually lately, a lot of them, like Alyssa just mentioned, in the United States are by Americans.
Yeah.
They're
No, but-
not terrorist attacks that
Right.
people think of when they think of a terrorist. They're like mass shooters.
Okay, well, there is a definition of that, and they get statistically captured. We talked that I think it is 0.04% of the world population, but from that 0.04%, what percentage are in Europe and North America? From, let's say that
I wanna
0.04 is
say
100%,
20. I want to say
0.0.
20% of the 0.0.
Yeah. Like I feel
I-
like more
I would
terrorism
agree.
happens in other countries that we don't know about or hear about, just because
Like,
we don't
okay,
hear about the
so
news doesn't mean that they're not
What just
attacking. I don't
what
know.
happened in China recently in the last couple of years, that stuff with the Muslims in China, would you consider that a terrorist attack, like the camps?
No, that's
Okay.
not a terrorist thing.
I'm just gonna say 20% because I don't even have a ball number.
Yeah, I'm gonna
anymore.
even go lower and say 10.
10.
Okay, actually less than 1%.
Oh wow. I knew
Yeah.
it was gonna be
But when you
low, but
saw
not that low.
Yeah.
less than 1% of that for in Western countries, not even United States, all Western countries,
Mhm.
and yet one of those events changed the entire world. See, that is exactly what this factfulness is that,
Right.
when you overreact to something like that, the terrorist has achieved their goal.
Mhm.
They made us to spend trillions of dollars on wars.
I
And they
guess I
actually
have a
achieved their goal.
I have a question on this is kind of like a psychological side of
Mm-hmm.
things. As a human being, like we said, I touch the stove, it's hot, ow, we make a big scene. Let's not do that again. That hurts. We're taught, and like we're repeated and we have that, so like when something good happens and we're rewarded by that. So I guess my thought is when stuff like this happens and we're talking, like in first world countries, like we hear about the 9/11
Yeah.
and it happens here. I guess I don't even know like how to go on that. I guess I'm trying to talk about how like we're taught that when something bad happens, we don't want to have that happen again. So like we just have that imprinted memory in general.
You're
Like,
scared.
like, oh, someone broke my heart. I'm more nervous to go back and do that. Like, oh, last time I went into Walmart, I saw a scary lady, so I'm scared to go into Walmart. Like I feel like as a human, fear is what drives us to make decisions more so than even, I guess maybe that's an out like how you see the world.
Yeah.
Like I can see how fear is a bigger drive than,
You think
like I don't know, maybe not. Now that I talk
fear
it out
is a
loud.
big drive. And I think I guess I don't really, continue. I don't really know
So
exactly.
should I give you an example?
He had said how like when 9/11 happened, even though that's less than 1% of the 0.04%,
It was a
that
big
was
deal,
enough
though.
to make it like imprinted in our mind that terrorism is very high percentage
Mhm.
here. that's what he said. But I go, fear in general, like when one bad thing happens, I can go to Walmart 10 times and 9 of the 10 times I have a good experience. And one time I have a poor experience. That in general, on a mental side, is enough to have me think twice before I go into that Walmart. Not because, the statistic says, well, you have a 90% chance of having no problems. Come on, Alyssa, you can do it. But that one, no matter what it is, I just think fear sticks in our minds
It does.
a lot easier than, no fear.
Happiness.
Yeah, safety.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's what the terrorism is about, to make you spend your resources on things that literally, if we would have spent all that money that we spent on since 9/11 on terrorism and all the wars, if we would have spent it on cancer research, we would have saved 1 million times more life, 1 million times more lives for cardiovascular research.
I don't even like you saying that out loud because that's so
nauseating.
It's so real. That's so true. It is nauseating.
It is, but that is the point.
And we still do it. We're doing it right now.
No, but the point is that exactly that is what the terrorism is. It's not really by the definition, they want to terrorize us. They want to put fear in us.
True.
And when we start doing this, exactly what happened, they have achieved their goal. They have achieved their goal that the resources that we could have built bridges, hospitals, and schools are going to building bombs. They are achieving their goals because people who would be indifferent to us, their bar bomb falls on their houses and neighbors' houses. They start hating us. So, and that is exactly what as well in the book, what you have to pay attention is this factfulness is when you are sober and rational and you sit down and you understand what is the best way to react to things based on rational thinking, and that sort of dries, then they are like, their effort become meaningless. But their effort was not meaningless because they derailed our entire economy, our entire infrastructure, our entire everything. We spent so much more money on things that literally we start dropping $200,000 bombs on a donkey that's $100 worth.
Yeah, they're kind of like distracting us from growing in a way.
Exactly, and that is when again, I really recommend read the book.
Yeah,
read the book. That is absolutely recommended. Now,
can I listen to it?
Yeah, he is.
He keeps saying read it. I'm not a reader. Permission to listen to it? Okay.
So, what else do we need to talk about?
I can ask another exercise question.
Okay, then one more, and then we call it.
Should we go with complexity or factfulness?
Surprise me. I won't answer this time. You guys got this.
What? No,
Okay, fine. I'll answer.
Okay. So embracing complexity.
Well, thank God you didn't go to the number one under applying factfulness. I go, ooh, that's deep.
That is really deep. I'm going to go with it. Sorry. What biases or misconceptions do you have that might be inhibiting you from fully understanding the world?
I know I've worked very hard. I will admit, at least after the age of 18, to work on understanding my biases the best I can and working on it. I'm never going to get fully there, but I know for a fact, my biggest bias or misconception that has inhibited my life and my understanding 100% has to be with where I was raised and grew up. And I don't mean that necessarily on a diss to South Dakota. I do not at all. But when I tell people that there was not one non-white person in my high school class at all, they don't believe. I said, I did not have a best friend that was of a different religion, a different race, a different anything until I got to college. Now, that's not to say that I wasn't aware and I wasn't this and that, but until you were put in a position where you have to even think twice, I wasn't even in a position where I even had to think
Well-
about that there's another whole, lifestyle, let alone 100 million different lifestyles.
And not to mention your education too, your
Right.
college specifically, you were talking about trans education
Yeah.
previously.
I could, without dissing anything on my school, that's one thing that I brought into attention when I went into my master's. They asked us, what's some information that you would like us to relate to you in these 2 weeks that we have to fill. And I brought 2 points to them that I wanted to talk about that weren't in our curriculum at the time. I said, I want more education on transgender health in the healthcare field. And I wanted some more education on the uses of prescribing marijuana for medical use. And I was denied both of those opportunities with some mild brushing, just based on, I was told, that's not very popular around here. That doesn't align with our morals. And the moral of that is I graduated without minimal health history training in transgender or other alternative uses of medicine. And that was really kind of sad to me because I knew that I wasn't going to stay in that area where I graduated, and that just because that college that we were located in, we don't have that, which we do have that community there, but it's not
It's
as
like a secret
accepted.
one.
It's not as accepted. And it was just sad. It was sad because I was at the point in my life where I was fully aware that those people are all around me and deserve the same amount of care that
Yeah.
anybody else does. And I was kind of denied that right to learn that from somebody in that field. So, I mean, there was a group of us that actually went through and we talked about it. We actually had a meeting with the LGBTQ community in that town, which was we couldn't do it through school affiliations. It was a bonfire just to get some talking. And yeah, that's like what I said, that you have to physically try to even understand that there's another way to do life, medicine,
Yeah.
dealing with people,
Right.
So, I mean, again, that's something on my bias that I knew when I went to college. I go, holy buckets, I got a lot to learn.
And
Good.
now you're in Minnesota, a trans refugee state. Not that you're in that medical field,
right.
but still.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Though. I feel more comfortable
Mhm.
because if I had anyone, I have patients that come in that don't use marijuana. And I don't have that judgment because I have done into that research and I've looked into it. And if I would have went straight with what school had said, I would know nothing. And I would know the negative biases of it's illegal. We're not going to talk about it. Well, guess what? It's not going to be illegal in Minnesota much longer.
No, actually, the law is going to be in effect in about a month.
July
or two.
1st or something.
Oh, I thought it already was.
I think it's July 1st.
Yeah,
but
I think it
the
is.
moral of the story, I graduated less than a year ago from school.
Yeah.
And within 365 days, the state that I'm practicing in had medical before, but
Mhm.
now it's recreational, which is something that is going to be in a chart history for patients. Why do you not want your healthcare providers to know about it?
Yeah. Right.
Again,
Yeah.
all comes back down to the biases that are going to inhibit, or even like we said, misconceptions
Mhm.
that could inhibit growth in the world. I
Yeah.
mean, one person could change the world. Okay.
Yeah.
I talked a lot.
I think
I
that
talked
was
a lot. That's why I said I wasn't going to talk.
No, that was a really good one. I think we can keep going on that actually.
Okay, that's a different conversation. Cannabis. Let's talk about the history of cannabis and cultural history of cannabis. That definitely put it down. That should be one of our podcasts.
Here you go, Charlie.
I'd be good with talking about pain management with cannabis as well. When we talk about that, we can make that a science.
I would
Talk
love
about
to-
the receptors and stuff on
Yeah,
that.
I would love to
Look
talk
at him smiling.
about
He
cannabis.
loves
and
science.
why people started calling it marijuana instead of cannabis and stuff like that. And kind of it's a little bit of sad
There's a
history.
too. I said there's quite a bit of a
Yeah, there's
history
a lot
too.
of history. There's a lot of history on that.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
He goes podcast at 5, podcast at 6.
What are some of your biases that that inhibit you from fully understanding the world?
A course of knowledge. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
The curse
The
of
curse of
knowing too
knowledge.
much, or the
No,
more.
that's not knowing too much. It's about things that you know and you think everybody know it. You
Yeah.
said that to you
automatically
too.
assume everybody knows things you know. And that is, and that is, that's called truly curse of knowledge because of that. Because you're assuming that other people have your knowledge base, and then you communicate in a way that you just, that's a practically recipe for lots of miscommunication.
Mhm.
Like if we talk about some subject, even as a medical professional, we talk to other people, we use lots of jargons, certain concepts are natural for us that they are not natural for other people, and that is that this course of knowledge is what truly reduces your effectiveness when you have it.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I say that all the time with Amanda, probably not on your level, but I just often forget what I knew 5 years ago at a basic,
Mhm.
so I can't imagine what you go through too.
No, I
It's your
see.
turn, Amanda. It's your turn, Amanda.
Actually, mine is really similar to yours, but not like educational knowledge. I think it's more like social knowledge or human knowledge.
You always are over my head. You always are.
Yeah.
We gotta one up ya.
Sometimes I get frustrated with people because they don't think the same way as me. And then yeah, right. And then maybe I'll form an unfair bias on them. Like,
fair.
if somebody maybe doesn't understand how to communicate with another person nicely, I will maybe think that they're not a good person or have negative feelings towards them that impact every other way I think of them.
Mhm.
So like, for instance, I'm not talking about you in this situation
Yes, you are.
at all.
Okay, it's
No,
okay.
this isn't about you. This isn't about you.
Not all about
This
you.
is about someone whose initials are AH, not HA. No, I'm
Okay.
just kidding. It's
Alyssa?
not it's not about you either. Don't worry. But like let's say I'm talking to the smartest person in the world and we're at dinner and the server comes over and they're being rude to the server. Immediately I'm going to think this person's social skills are not at
Mhm.
par. They might have something wrong with them like socially. So I think that that's kind of my biggest bias that I need to overcome is understand. I'm getting better at it because I do understand that a lot of times people that are super smart in one area are a little bit less socially involved.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's my biggest bias.
No, that I feel that too. But we both are very more. I would say
Emotional.
kind people we see through other people's emotions. So yeah, we would never be rude to a server in that way because we are in tune to that.
Yeah.
But I definitely know people that I've seen
They're
it.
so rude.
Yeah, but that they just don't see anything necessarily wrong. They're paying for their service, and that's why they're there.
Yeah.
So I think it's time to wrap it up.
I think my brain can't take any more.
It actually is time to wrap it up. You have a meeting in 10 minutes.
I know. That's why we have to wrap it up.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. This is the Essence of History. Today we talked about how the world is improving. I'm Amanda Armagast.
I'm Melissa Haber.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence, but go read the book, the actual book, The Factfulness by Hans Rosling.
There you go.
Thanks, guys. See you on Friday.
Sorry.